Live from London, it's Boys. Yes, we're back. Hello, hello, hello. I hope you've been good. Now, if we're saluting like that, if we're English, if we're American, it's more like that. But as neither of us have been in the armed forces, I think it's a moot point. Oh, we get a split like that. Special organisations where we can have special handshakes as well. But yeah, we're not part of that. Hello, folks. Yes, welcome to the show that's all about cars and used to be on your radio. We return to the airways once again for another round of pandemonium and chaos. So in that way, we are mirroring literally the state of the world at the moment. I feel like I want to go out and knock over a statue of some guy that's been dead for 300 years. Plenty on the programme on offer today. We have a couple of great driving roads and lost highways, a roundup of motoring events in the week's news, called The News, and we'll be playing the latest quiz that's sweeping the nation around the world in 8 minutes. Before you ask, it's nothing sexual. It's where I'll be posing as question master and asking our lucky contestant to guess which is quicker, the plane, the train, or the automobile. The aim of the game is to guess whether it's quicker to jump on a bus to get from London to Manchester, whether the car is a better option when traveling from Paris to Rome, or if one should take the plane to get to New York. Probably the quickest if you're trying to get to the World Trade Center. Too soon. Too soon. Without further ado, here's our lucky contestant and my co-host who joins me this evening, this afternoon, tonight, whenever you're listening. Here's Simon.
Yes, thanks, Rich. I love being introduced as if I'm Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Although I'm not that unhinged yet, but there is time. Where's Max? As Richard was saying, welcome to the show, dear listener. We hope you've had a productive week wearing your masks, or not wearing your masks, as most people that have been rioting haven't, socially isolating or rioting on the streets. Whatever, you're all welcome, whether you're Black, White, or Simpsons. Coming up on the show this week, we'll be answering all your questions and queries in the mailbag. Rich will be having a rant as usual about some sort of first world problem. And we have an amazing vintage vehicle in our classic car selection. This week, it's a big Ford. It's the Mondeo ST200.
Ooh, sounds good.
Which looks like this. So sit back, relax, and brace yourself for an hour of car-inspired madness. I'm Simon Suchuan. Why the kettle dry? Why the empty eye? Why the vacant sky? Why the sunspots cry?
Simon Suchuan there, folks, who always forgets to fill up his kettle when he has a nice cup of tea. I was actually going to ask you, do you know that song?
I looked it up before we came on. It was pretty good.
Yeah, Funky Coliseum, I think from 1971. And I'm Richard Green. It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the Muppets on the Muppet Show tonight. A song which generally sums up the people who present this show. And this is Cowboys. Okay, now it's time for my weekly rant. It's where I lend my virtual soapbox and spout about injustice and cruelty that is shown to the common motorist. And believe me, I'm as common as they come. Simon will vouch for that.
He is.
Thank you. This week, my bile has been caused to rise with the news that the local government in the UK is to get power to fine drivers £130 for minor offences under plans to give cyclists and pedestrians priority after the coronavirus pandemic. What it's got to do with the pandemic, I don't know. Ministers have signalled that they're prepared to hand controversial powers to councils to enforce civil penalties for minor driving offences, such as straying into cycle lanes or stopping in box junctions. Enforcing the rules is currently the job of the police, but they rarely take formal action over so-called moving traffic violations, if you didn't know. The change would bring the whole of England into line in London, where officials regularly use cameras to issue more than 1 million penalty notice every year. Now, here's a picture, if you are American or from Paris, of what our glorious box junctions look like in the UK. This is a particularly nasty one. The junction at New Kings Road and Bagley's Lane in Fulham rakes in an incredible £1.6 million in fines. That's about $2,000 annually for Hammersmith and Fulham Council. It's the country's most lucrative traffic penalty spot. Now, far be it from me to say that drivers are funneled into this like lemmings into the pash of cash-hungry CCTV fine systems, but let's face it, they are. I will say it. I live in London, and I bank on about £100 to £200 a year in fines for doing things like entering cycle lanes, accidentally stopping where you shouldn't stop, or even parking badly. Not that I ever park badly. Now, in terms of box junctions, you can't often see the box junction until you're right on top of it. And when you are completely knackered, there's something you can't do. Because if you're coming down a road and you cannot see there's a box junction there, you enter it. Unfortunately, there's no exit because the traffic's so appalling in London. You're knackered. That's it, £70 fine. The same with parking fines. I've had those, all those lovely double red lines in urban areas. I don't know if you've been a victim to that, Simon. You cannot stop on those at all. Last year, I had a fine because my rear wheel, and that's singular, not plural, my rear wheel of my large Honda was on the red double yellow lines just inside a junction. The traffic was appalling. It was bumper to bumper. I misjudged the space available to me on the other side of the lights. Had I been in a smaller car, there would have been no fine. Now, I used to get really angry with these fines. I saw it as a slight on my character. Not only were they saying I'd done wrong, but I was a bad person. Now I just take a deep breath and I literally laugh. I see it as another form of tax. Didn't break a law. It's a civil crime. It doesn't go on a record. And to be honest, it's incorrect. I just laugh and write them a check. So they'll take even more time for them to process the fine. And I mentally give them the middle finger. It's a stupid law. It didn't exist 30 years ago. So F you. It has taken me the best part of 20 years to achieve this state of Buddha-like calm. But I fear if you introduce this to the rest of the UK, you'll end up with some pretty pissed off folk. Just let me say this. You can go to France, you can go and buy a left-hand drive car with French plates, and you can drive that around the UK from now until the cows come home. And the police and the local authorities cannot issue you with a fine. Absolutely no fines. Just a thought. Are we going to Calais tomorrow, Simon? What do you reckon?
We could try.
It is illegal, but you could do it. You could do it if you wanted to, and you wouldn't. I have a friend that I shall not mention who has a French car in England, and in England, in France, he has his English car, and he receives no fines whatsoever. Very funny to turn up outside some radio studios in central London and him park on a resident-only parking bay. And I said, "But you're going to get done." And I looked and went, "Oh no, you're in the French car." And he went, "Mais oui."
Have you ever been caught in a box junction?
Yes. Do you remember when we used to work together in Wandsworth many years ago?
Yes.
There was a horrible one there. And that's, I think I've got done twice in less than 2 years, because you cannot see whether the junction's empty until you're on the junction.
And so the problem with that is also, if you're in a van, well, if you're not in a van, if you're following a van, you can't see ahead. So you can't see whether the traffic's flowing or not.
Well, this is the problem. The problem with this one is there's actually, oops, the news has started. I didn't mean to do that. There's high walls either side. There's buildings either side of this, either side of the lights, and the box junction is sort of round towards the right. So, sorry, the left. As you get there, you're like, oh, there's no exit. It's too late because traffic's behind you and the light's on green, and you're funneled into it, and you go, okay, that's another fine. I just don't take it personally anymore. I just think, oh, well, such is life. But yeah, these things, if they introduce them to the rest of the UK, the way they give fines out in London, people are going to get angry.
Well, in that picture, there's no way the black car should be in the box junction because the blue car's going across. So his exit is not clear anyway.
Oh, yes, because he's turning right, isn't he? Yes. So he's turning right and he shouldn't have gone in there. Yes. What a very lucrative way to make money. They'll
send you a nice little letter with a picture of your car on it. And I remember when I got mine, I thought, oh, my car looks clean.
That's your way you should do it. I think I should start framing those because I seem to collect them with worryingly regularity. Shall we have some news?
Yes, let's have some news.
Ah, here we go. News!
First off, this week in new facelift for BMW divides fan news, the 2020 BMW 4 Series Coupe has been revealed this week with a drastically revamped new front grille. BMW chief designer Domaggio Duquec, who listens to the show all the time, believes that the polarizing kidney grille on the 4 Series Coupe, the new one, will be recognized as a brand shaper in years to come. The second generation Coupe maintains the large horizontal grille. First seen on the concept model last year, when the car was revealed, it provoked a strong reaction on social media, which is also reflected in the recent spy shots and leaked images as seen here. Duquec says the 4 Series grille follows BMW's recent trend to make each of its models stand out, and that it certainly does. It should be the core of the BMW to have a product which makes a strong statement, he said, it's unmistakably BMW, unmistakably 4 Series. It's not just logical, it has a very strong character, and that's unique to our brand.
Did he say it's not just logical, Jim? That'd have been nice.
But not as we know it. The twin kidney grille is the most prominent design icon we have. It's the biggest difference we have from other cars out there. Asked about the reaction to the grille on the concept car, he said, in the design business, you can't listen to social media reactions. Telling that to the President of the United States. It follows many manufacturers such as Bentley and Lexus who have seen the size of their grills grow exponentially over the past few years. It's really necessary. Is it really necessary to have a huge grille to cool the engine, or is it merely just design aesthetic? So the thing is, I don't see why they're having these big grills on the cars, because lots of the electric cars, you don't need a grille.
Well, yes, and this is the point, isn't it? I had BMW 3 Series, which would now be 8 years old. I sold it a couple of years ago, and the grille is fake. There's plastic behind the grille, and it's actually a real pain in the backside to clean. So you have this, but behind this, it's not the cooling system. The traditional point of the grille was to cool the engine with cool air and help assist the fan. My BMW had a load of plastic behind it. So then you had to get a little toothbrush to get in between the thing to clean the cack that had made its way into the plastic bit. So you just had a fake grille on the front, and I don't see the point.
I've got a hole in my bonnet where the supercharger used to be on the original second generation Mini. Yes. But now it's not really effective because you've got an intercooler at the bottom and it's turbocharged now. So the hole is pretty much useless.
I think we can agree. This seems to have started with Lexus, with their big waterfall grille about 10 years ago. And it's very strange that the Germans taking styling cues from the Far East. That, I would say, is all about sucking up to the American market. Nothing wrong with sucking up, but that's an American design. That will not be liked in Europe. I like it, but it's very brash. It's very, very American. And all I can think of, that's going to be a pain in the ass to clean. I think enough said on that. Meanwhile, and let's give the lunatics the keys to the asylum news. E-scooters are to be allowed on the streets of the UK, but they will be limited to 12.5 miles an hour. The Department for Transport says they'll be trialling pilot schemes to let the e-scooters legally hit the streets. Many people are already riding them. If you live in London, you've probably seen these guys going out and about, and certainly in the States. They require no registration, no insurance or tax, and the drivers will not have to wear helmets or protective clothing. E-scooters are currently banned in the UK on public roads and pavements. That's a law, though, that isn't being enforced. The start of trials have been brought forward from next year to next month and opened out to more areas of the UK due to the coronavirus pandemic. Commuter, I don't know why everything's linked to that. It just seems to be we're sliding things under the door that the public won't like, during Corona. And we put up tax to 75% in the pound for everyone due to Corona. It's hoped e-scooters will offer an attractive alternative to the bus. Really? Walking is an attractive alternative to the bus. In the capital, tube journeys and help the need for social distancing. London Mayor Sadiq Khan, who's loved down here, is increasing the cost of the congestion charge in the capital. Next month, commuters are likely to want an alternative means to cycling and walking. I don't know, just not going into work sounds better than any of this. The Department for Transport consultation document states, we think it is appropriate not to require formal training or testing. Speeds would be legally limited to 12.5, which is 3 miles an hour less than the limit for e-bikes. Metropolitan Police caught nearly 100 riders in London in a single 100 riders in London breaking the law and using these things in a single week last summer. Go to Austin in Texas. Just put Austin in Texas and e-scooters. Have a look at that. They are a nightmare in Texas. I've seen them become more and more popular over the last 12 months with people using electric scooters and skateboards and weaving in and out of traffic. Good luck with not getting killed, boys. Yes, it's a horrendous thing. I stupidly took I don't know if I've told you this story, borrowed a scooter from work before Christmas because I work in a very PC 21st century place. And I had a little go around the park, not an electric one. And I've got a nice big hole in my jeans because I came off like a git because I haven't ridden a scooter for about 35 years.
You've said this before. The fact is, you're on a scooter. They have no helmets, no. High vis or anything like that.
No.
Who's going to come off worse? The car or the scooter? The
scooter. Basically, I'm going to have to go and start carrying a spade or a fork to start prizing these guys out of my wheel arches. And then you'll hit them, and then there's no insurance for you. There's no insurance for them unless they have some sort of personal insurance or health insurance. They're absolutely knackered. I think you're crazy to be getting on one of these. Absolutely crazy. Don't do it.
Absolutely. Should we have some more news?
Yes.
More bad news for Aston Martin news. Aston Martin is planning to cut up to 500 jobs from its 2,600 strong workforce as part of a £10 million cost-cutting program in the wake of coronavirus, if you didn't know. The news comes in spite of the company relaunching 25 especially made 007 DB5 celebrating the James Bond movies at £3 million a pop.
I'll have two.
Indeed. The struggling British car maker says that planned job cuts are intended to help boost profitability by bringing its cost base in line with reduced production levels of its sports cars. By the way, what's the drink this week?
This week, the show is sponsored by Cake. Cake is it. 0 calories from a lovely can of cake.
In a statement, Aston Martin said that the strategic plan requires a fundamental reset, which includes a planned reduction in front-engine sports car production to rebalance the supply to demand. Aston Martin is planning to reduce manufacturing costs by £8 million and capital expenditure by £10 million, which relates with related cash restructuring costs totaling £12 million this year. Aston Martin recorded a pre-tax loss of £118.9 million in the first 3 months of 2020. With sales and productions affected by the pandemic, the firm is gearing up to launch the crucial DBX SUV this year. And recently named Mercedes-AMG chief Tobias Moers as its new chief executive to replace Andy Palmer. Totally agree with that.
Is it a crucial DBX? Is it like crucial?
Crucial. I agree with that because most of the Aston Martins, like McLarens, look pretty much the same. Are kind of are the same car, but slightly different.
Yes. But I don't like this. What was the we don't want to start making front-engined sports cars. We want to what the heck is what's Aston Martin if it doesn't make front-engine sports cars? I'm sorry. Oh yeah, we're going to reduce making what we make. Yes. Right. Okay. Why would I want a 4x4 Aston Martin? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever. If I'm buying into the Aston Martin brand. I want a 4-seated Tourer. Isn't that what Aston Martin do for a living? We talked about this last week. Aston Martin, if you're listening, nobody is making decent 4-seater 2-door coupes with a big fat engine. Bang them out, £50,000 a piece. You will clear up. You will own the market. Continue to do what you do. probably not saying as much as Morgan have, which Morgan have been making the same thing since 1936.
Yes.
But why don't you make a big rear-wheel drive, put some rear-wheel drive, not 4x4, rear-wheel drive, massive lump in the front, bang it out for 50, 60 grand, you'll undercut everything. And the Americans will, which is the biggest car, well, I know the Chinese are, but let's face it, the Americans have got the money. The Americans have got the money to buy cars of this stature. So,
especially if it has that winged badge on that.
That's what they want. That's what they want. I think it's the most ridiculous thing. When I read this story, I was like, we want to reduce front-engine sports car production. It's a bit like the brand Cake saying they don't want to make fizzy drinks anymore. Shake the can, wait the taste. It's Cake. Right, meanwhile, and finally, in the third world's favourite military vehicle news, the pickup truck that's beloved from building sites in Japan and London to the war zones of Somalia and Iraq is back with a new model. Here she is. Yes, the Toyota has given a venerable Hilux a brand new makeover, overhauling the design, revising the chassis, adding a new, more powerful engine, although they won't be adding a mount for a 50 cal machine gun for the African market. Not quite yet. The Hilux has a new front end with a three-dimensional grille. We're on to grills again. And bumper treatment said to increase its road presence. Higher trim levels, also LED light clusters, front and rear. You'll like that. And a new bronze metallic colour. A bronze metallic colour is offered as well. Who would want that? Oh, Asian market. Inside, the changes include updated infotainment system, an 8-inch screen, alongside physical button shortcuts, which is what exactly thick-fisted builders will be using. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto features. Oh, new kit includes 800-watt 9-speaker JBL sound system. Nice. Now, so you can listen to your favourite hip-hop tracks as you try and gun down an American plane. Gunship, yeah. Toyota's also brought in a 2.8-litre diesel to complement the 2.4-litre unit. Now, the new diesel puts out 200 bhp, taking the Hilux from 0 to 60 in 10 seconds, which is fast for this car, a full 3.2 seconds faster than the previous vehicle. Fuel economy figures yet to be released, but 36.3 combined, which is not bad for a big diesel.
So the colour is metallic bronze, or otherwise known as gunmetal.
Ah, very good.
So your guns will blend in.
Yes, they will blend in very well with this when you're out in the Sahara fighting a war. But yeah, I mean, as we know, we don't need to go on about this. This car is indestructible. Isn't it the only car? I think the Top Gear guys took it. The only car to have been to the North Pole.
Yes,
Nothing
so much so that they made a special edition version of it, the Top Gear version.
Yes,
because in honour of it.
Ah. Ooh. So there we go. So that's about it from the news. And unfortunately, we had some awful music there. That was because I've got big, thick builder's fingers. And I probably should be driving a Toyota Hilux. Is it time for the classic car selection?
Yes, classic car selection.
Here we go. I've got my Miles Davis t-shirt on as well.
I see. I have the TARDIS.
We won't get a copyright strike for your TARDIS, will we? From the BBC?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Jazz band, continue. That's enough. That's enough.
Guest musician this week, Branford Marsalis.
Oh, yeah.
This week.
I've done this with Miles as I was playing the music. Hey, cat. Sorry.
This week, the classic car in 1997, Britain was changing. Tony Blair had just become Prime Minister, and he decided that the group of people he was going to target were going to be called the Mondeo Man.
Of course.
This week's classic car is the Ford Mondeo, and it's the one that looks like this.
Wow.
Which is the facelifted version of the original Mondeo. The Mondeo was introduced in 1993 and was the front-wheel drive replacement for the rear-wheel drive Sierra. And it's named after the French word monde, which means world, because it was the first Ford to be sold around the world. In the US, for all those US people currently watching the show, you may know it as the Ford Contour or the Mercury Mystique. And since of those that are American usually prefer bigger engines, the bog standard car was beefed up in 1999 with the addition of the chain-driven 2.5-litre Duratec V6, which pumped out a mighty 202 bhp and 235 newton meters of torque. So very torquey. The 1990s also saw Ford kill off its best-known badges, the XR. Remember the XR? You had an XR3.
I did.
So the Hot Mondeo was the first to be given the now familiar ST name. This car sat on 17-inch Oz alloy wheels, or OZ alloy wheels, which you would see you to 145 miles an hour, where you're allowed to drive at 145 miles an hour, with 0 to 60 time of 7.7 seconds. What's also good with this car is that it came in 4-door, which that's the 4-door saloon,
Nice.
5-door hatchback, and also an estate. So like the Sapphire Cosworth before it, it was pretty versatile for a super tourer. And it was pitched against the likes of, and you'll like this, the Honda Accord Type R, which was its rivals in those days. The problem stateside though was, if you wanted a sporty Ford with a big engine, why wouldn't you choose a Mustang? Because most people would choose a Mustang. The interior of this particular car was typical 1990s Ford with lots of curves and two-tone leather Recaro bucket seats. There were only 6,500 of the ST200s produced from 1999 to 2000, which was 2 years of production, most of which were in Imperial Blue, which is there. That's actually the facelifted version that you can see. So it's rare to find one. It's also rare to find one of the 50 white models. These white Mondeo ST200s were white because they were earmarked for the police force. And the police decided not to get them, and that's why there was 50 of the white cars on sale. Don't expect a good fuel economy because it will only achieve 19 mpg around town. It was not economical, hardly the most powerful.
Was it an M3 or a Ferrari?
What should you look for? Well, maintenance costs are relatively cheap since it's pretty interchangeable with most of the other models in the Ford Mondeo range. The two things to look for are head gaskets, which may be costly but rare. And since it's a Ford, of course, the main problem is rust. Check around the doors, wheel arches, and windscreen seal. Wheel bearings are also known to be a common fail point for the Mondeo at this time, and beware of cars that have been modified because this will affect resale values. What should you pay for a car that retailed for £23,000 brand new? Well, it's thought that only about 600 ST200s remain in the UK, so it's pretty exclusive. It's not as outlandish as the Cosworths of the era, hence why it slipped under the radar for so long, though following a recent feature on Amazon's Grand Tour, it has stirred interest. Don't expect to pay more than £2,000 for the estate version, but I looked online today and found a 2000 model with 90,000 miles on the clock up in Sheffield, Yorkshire, for a mere £1,200.
Wow. Okay.
£1,200. Quite rare as well, with only about 600 remaining.
I was going to say that's probably the cheapest classic car selection we've had.
Yeah, and it's you get quite a lot for it.
That's a heck of a lot of car for the money. That's a heck of a lot of car. Yeah. I mean, obviously, when you get firstly, you've got to take a loan out to put the petrol in it, but
at 19 mpg, yeah.
Yes, at 19 mpg, and it's a Ford, so it's fixed often, repaired daily. Things will fall off this. If you'd have made the right choice and bought the Accord, that would still be going, and you'd have no problems. I'm just saying that.
Indestructible. It would
indestructible. But now I drove a white Ford Mondeo in the mid-90s. It wasn't mine; it was a company car, and I had very short hair. And I used to wear
shorter than now.
Shorter than now. I know. Look at it. I'm turning into a hippie. And I used to have a blue jumper, and I used to go up the M69 towards Leicester. And this was a company car, and it had quite a few little car aerials for car radios. Yes. I could never work out why people would just pull over into the inside lane when they came in. I think everybody thought it was an undercover cop car. It was great.
Nice.
It was really good fun. I had a lot of fun driving that Monday. Is it rear-wheel drive or is it traditional front-wheel drive?
Front-wheel drive.
Okay,
Front-wheel
so
drive.
that's the thing you've got going against it. But then everything's front-wheel drive now. My Accord is front-wheel drive.
Mm.
The only time I really, really notice it is when it's icy. I don't have that oh shit tail out, which I used to have when I would drive rear-wheel drive cars. But well, I would say that's fantastic. Well done. I think you've got an absolute bargain there.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
I think.
1,200 quid.
1,200 quid. I think you should be buying one. It could be the Carboys car. You get some sponsorship going on this.
Oh, we could get the estate version of it as well. Put lots of stickers on the back window.
And of course, the fizzy drink company Cake could, if they wanted to, sponsor it.
It's like the Smiley Miley merchandise mobile.
Yes.
For those of you old enough to remember.
Exactly. Should we have some Lost Highways?
Yes, let's go for it.
Here we go. In your own time.
Band takes a bit of while to warm up.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, thank you, band. They're doing their usual royalty-free thing. Yes, time now on our feature where listeners email in and give us their favourite roads and the reason they love them. It could be a quiet coastal road that leads down to the sea. Alternatively, it could be a straight two-lane blacktop that leads to infinity and invites you to gun the pedal to the metal. Whatever your poison, let us know your perfect driving roads at Carboys. You can get in touch with the show at car-boys@outlook.com. We're available on Facebook, car-boys. At Car Boys with 4 Zs, Twitter, car-boys, at car_boys, and Instagram at car_boys with only the 3 Zs. I'm being joined in the studio now by my assistants. Thank you very much. Oh, that's the Instagram page, which is looking fantastic. It's looking very good and not pornographic at all, which is the way we like it. First off, on Lost Highways, Asha writes to us from Solihull. She says, "Hi, Carboys. I hope you're well." Are we well?
We're well.
Are you feeling
Just
chesty?
about.
Yeah, I'm feeling fine.
Chance would be a fine thing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You're single and you've been locked in for 3 months.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot of babies when this all ends, let me tell you that. She says, I live near Birmingham in Solihull. I found an amazing route when I got lost on the way to Somerset. She was going to the Wookey Hole Caves down there and ended up driving round and round, and the whole family were getting nuffed off with her ability to use the map or a sat-nav. We ended up driving through the Mendip Hills, which is truly a great driving road, namely the B3135. She's got a new A-Class Merc, and she writes, it properly handled the twists and turns on the route. Somerset is better known for its expansive fields and cider than the 100-metre gorge that runs through Cheddar, England's longest gorge, formed by glacial meltwater during the last ice age, and today contains one of the best driving roads in the country. The B3135 takes you through the gorge, through the Mendip Hills, and onto the village of Ashwick. Asha says, if you're down this way, you must check out the road. She's not a big petrol head, but she said it's a fun drive. I've not done it. Sounds good.
It does sound good.
Yeah.
Cheddar Gorge, is that where they make the cheese?
I guess so. I have no idea. I think you've got the Wookey Hole Caves are down there, which is a sort of like a fun fair, an old fun fair from the Victorian era. You know, you could take your kids down there and give them, I don't know, TB and rickets, that sort of thing. But yeah,
big bowler hat.
Wear a big bowler hat, have a massive moustache, and that's just the ladies. Yes, so it sounds like a fantastic drive there. I have driven around Somerset, and it's very quiet. So you could probably have a little bit of fun smashing your car around country lanes and drinking cider.
Fantastic. Cider. Do like a bit of cider. Dave says hello. Dave says hello,
hi, Dave.
Lads. It's expat Dave from Corfu town.
Oh, okay.
He says the Greek islands of Corfu in the Ionian,
I think. We're all going to have fun with this one.
Yes, I know. I read that beforehand.
Sorry.
Has some great driving roads. Also, no coronavirus, unlike England. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
Dave is a retiree and tells us that there is a fab journey to be had on the island, starting in Corfu town, head west to TARDIS. I'm going to name it TARDIS Junction.
Taziki. Let's call it Taziki Junction.
Taziki Junction. We should have a bit of Zorbas.
Yeah.
on the coast road, then leave it. Follow the signpost to Spartacus or Spartiras and Styrinias village on the southwest bank of Mount Pandokora.
Andokara, yeah. If you say it sort of like,
Yeah.
you're in talk with the Greek, it will work.
Yes, Mount Pecora. At Styrinias, bear right east towards the 914-meter summit, Corfu's highest point, but only attempt this in clear, relatively calm weather, as the final approach is narrow and exposed. The views are amazing. Back in Styrinias, turn right towards the north coast via Riva and Lafiki hamlets emerging
Lafiki.
near.
Lafki.
Lafki hamlets emerging near Harivi. Time for a swim now. If you favour sandy beaches, Alimayros, just northwest of Harivi, towards Cassiope. It's the best locally. If you're a Pebble partisan, wait until the various bays of Kensington on Sea. I said that correctly.
Yes, you did. Well done.
Al-Laki and Agni, who was in ABBA, if you didn't know. If you can't wait to eat the taverns of the inland Palia are not far away. From here, it's just short way to Kaiser Throne above Pelikas village, a natural rock formation adapted as a viewing point by Kaiser William II in 1908, and a favourite sunset venue ever since. Afterwards, descend to the village for an early dinner.
Have to charge like 10 times a day.
Ooh,
sorry.
Fantastic. An early dinner. Again, ample choice. Return to Corfu Town. Dave goes on to say that there is a great journey to be had from the UK to Corfu by car, via the ferry from Italy. And the borders in Italy and France just opened up.
Sorry.
Yeah. He does a journey once a year, picking up great food in Italy and amazing wine in France. Sounds like he has the life. What am I doing here in London?
Well,
border between Italy and France opened up today.
So Dave will be hopefully being able to wind his way back to polluted England. Yeah, well done, Dave. Yes. I apologise for all of those pronunciations. You are free to say to me in Greek, Malakas, Richard, which is a rather rude word in Greek.
Nice.
I've driven around Corfu. It is a little hairy. It's
okay.
Corfu is officially in Europe, but it's a little hairy. Take it slow. You will come across the odd tractor, the odd motorbike, lots of tourists. The lanes are very narrow. There'll probably also be a bus driver smoking a cigarette on a mobile phone, eating a sandwich and drinking a coffee while driving a huge bus as well that you'll meet coming around the corner. So drive defensively and slowly.
There you go, Corfu, the Somerset of the South.
It is the Somerset. I don't think there's any cider there from the last time I went, but it is very nice. It's very cheap. It's a cheap man's Italy, if you've never been. Lots of Italian influence, amazing food. Yes, so there you go, our driving roads. If you want to, I've got to get Zorba the Greek now off this phone. If you want to get in touch with the show and suggest your lost highways, email the boys at car-boys@outlook.com and all the other ways of getting in touch with us. Time now on the show to open up the correspondence and delve into the scary world of the mailbag. And this week, once again, it's overflowing with mail. Oh, just with mail. Carlos from Coventry. Carlos from Coventry. Hola. Says, hi, guys. He's from Coventry. He says, hope you're well. My gran has moved into a home and we're sorting out her old house. Not about the right time to be doing that, Carlos. But anyway, she's got a 2005 Suzuki Alto in the garage. It's got no tax. It's got no MOT. She hasn't driven it for 2 years. It starts okay. There are no warning lights. Should I consider getting it serviced? Should I consider selling it, getting it up and running, or alternatively use it as a commuting city car? It's a typical granny car. I bet there's a little fish on the rear bumper. It's got a full service or a Church of England sticker. It has a full service history, 42k on the clock. The only damage is a missing hubcap, which you can see from Carlos's Coventry car. Actually, it's quite straight, isn't it? So it's
not bad.
The current generation of Alto is not the generation before. I think it's the generation before that. Yes, you can see. Because of the lights here. The lights of the four doors. It's got a 1 litre engine. Now these are great little cars. Nice small 1 litre engine, mainstay of Suzuki brand since the 1980s. It sounds like it's hardly been used, which it hasn't. The sort of cars that are owned by elderly people do make for great second-hand buys. I've done it a couple of times. They've been driven carefully, usually serviced properly. Check for knocking CV joints in this, which is common in this car. But aside from that, it should be sound as a pound. You're going to need... Okay, here we go. So you've got the cars free. The car is probably worth 500 quid if you sell this. But you're still going to have to spend this amount on it to sell it. Otherwise, you're looking at a 200 quid car. You're going to need a full service. You're going to need an MOT. You're probably going to need 4 new tyres. But the MOT is going to be about 40 quid. Your full service on this is probably not going to be more than 200. 4 new tyres, I wouldn't buy 4 new. I'd buy part worn. You're going to get 4 part worn for less than 100 quid for the whole lot. Cheap insurance. Road tax is only £30 a year. If you can afford to run a second car, why not do it?
I think maybe get some Suzuki Works parts on there. Go down to your local branch of Halford, some neons. It'll look pretty good.
Yes. Listen, he's not in Enfield where you live.
Oh, sorry.
So some blue underlights here.
Yes.
Dump valves on a 1 litre engine. That'll be perfect. That will. on a 1 litre Suzuki Alto. But yeah, I drive it. I mean, you could also maybe get some French plates off eBay and stick them on the front and the back. Never get a parking fine again.
Park where you want.
Yeah, park where you want. I had this cute little car. I mean, and hang on for it for a couple of years, and what you'll find is you'll end up with a cousin or a sister or somebody or a niece. I need a car, and you go, there you go, have that.
Yep. Fantastic. More letters now. Meanwhile, Andrew in Spain says, "Hola, cowboys."
Hola.
He says, loves the show. Didn't have to say that, but
Good
thank
man.
you for that.
Good man.
Wants to know if it's possible to get himself a camper van for a bargain price. He lives in London and Barcelona and commutes between the two. Wow. He'd love to get a classic 1960s or even 1970s VW camper. But is worried about the reliability. He isn't mechanically minded. He will be camping in it on his way on his own, and he is a surfer, I'm guessing.
Yes,
to get over to St. Moritz in France this summer. Good luck. His budget is a lowly 5k. I was thinking camper vans. I think they're quite expensive, aren't they? The classic camper vans, the microbuses.
Yeah, the microbuses. If you wanted to go and get a really new one, they made them up until 2012. I think it's Danbury down in Devon, buys them in from Brazil, reconverts them for British roads, makes them road legal for Britain, 30 grand a pop, brand new. Split is, what is it, T1, T2, so from the late 40s up to the 1970s. Big money, stupid money, 20, 25, 30, 50. You've got these ones that are worth 100,000 when somebody's put a 911
Porsche engine or something.
engine in a boot in the back. I think 5 grand rules out Mercedes Sprinter. It definitely, and I wouldn't buy a VW, an old school 1.6 air cooled, because they will break down. And if you're not mechanically minded, it's not a bad journey if he's going to go Barcelona to Biarritz. Had a quick look. It's not on the map. It looks quite close, but you're going over the Pyrenees, so you want something with a bit of gumption,
bit of poke.
But he said he's flying solo, so we had a look, and maybe something smaller and Japanese. Toyota Previa possibly that's been converted into a camper, or a T4 VW van though, converted into a day camper. We found a 2006 T4 van. It's been converted already. It was on for £5,000. We also found a Toyota Hiace. Again, they're supposed to be day vans. They're minibuses. It's got similar spec, similar money. It sounds like he's going to go on his own. I would say VW or say Harigato to the Japanese.
No, sounds good to me.
The best way to go. I'm not sure what is available from Seat. I didn't really consider that. So maybe Seat, I think it's let me get it right. Is it the Alhambra that's their version of the Sharon?
Yeah, the Sharon, the Galaxy, the Alhambra.
So the Alhambra could be the one to go for if you are living in Barcelona. And It sounds like you're going to have it over there. And also, if you do drive it back to Britain, you could just do whatever speed you like in it, really, because they're never going to find you, are they? You just go down the just go down around the M25.
Spanish or French plates.
Yeah, just Spanish plates. Mi no habla inglés, mi es español. There you go. Just need to learn that. And what was his name? Andy. You will be fine. Meanwhile, from Andy in Barcelona to Dave in Bristol. He drives. I wish he drove a Bristol. Nobody's ever written to us that drives a Bristol. He drives
in Bristol.
In Bristol in 1998. Oh, this is a classic though.
I was considering doing this. Yeah.
2000. Now I have to get it right because I've got a Honda Accord as well, and they sort of look the same. I've got to be careful. No, this is the Rover. So he's got one of these. He's got a 216 1.6 Rover Coupe in silver. Great car, Honda engine. Now, look, here's the Accord of the similar era. So that's the two-door Rover. That's the Accord. Not dissimilar. It's a great car. It's got a Honda engine. Hasn't any had problems with it. He's got he's got that cam belt service regularly. He's getting the smell of unburnt petrol in the cab. The car seems to be performing all right. Fuel consumption looks a little down, but not horrendously. Okay, so here we go. Check the timing belt on this. This may need altering. It's an older car. Check the timing, I should say. He said he's had the belt replaced. Check the timing. Have you got any tappet sounds coming from the engine? Also, I'd run it. It's an old girl. Run it on super unleaded, decent high octane. I'd treat her. The good side of this is it's Honda engine. I suspect, though, these things, because the Honda may have been engine, but the rest of it was the quality that Rover was, is the petrol tank. Many of these, with this model, you get leaks. Look underneath, either at work or where you live, where you park. If you see a patch of water, a patch of liquid on the ground, put your hand on it and smell it. If it's nothing, if you can't smell anything, then it's just water from the aircon. But if you're smelling petrol, you've got a leak in the tank. But the good news is, second-hand petrol tank for one of these. Have a look on eBay.
Yes.
Very good condition with a 6-month guarantee. £100.
Yeah, not bad.
So maybe £100 labour, £100 tank. Bob's your uncle.
I'm also thinking if you're going to change the tank, you might as well change all the fuel filters and all that stuff as well at the same time. Was looking at the Rover Coupe as a classic car because they did a 220, the 2-litre turbo.
T-top.
Yes.
They looked very, very nice. Very, very nice. If you can still find any around because they rusted from the bottom up.
They did indeed. And finally, we've got an email this time from Charlie Boy. Hello, Charlie Boy in London. His neighbour is offering him a car for £200. It's a 1997 Honda Accord. There you go. Seamlessly transitioned to her. Two-door, 1.6 auto, 150,000 miles on the clock. It's white, has lots of dents, but hardly any rust because it's Japanese. It's an MOT and a somewhat full service book. What do you boys think? It's not a bad car. I do like that. Bit of a granddad car.
It is. It very much is. It does what it says on the tin. I mean, Charlie, it's £200 and it works. So if you use this, if you travel in and out of central London, or you travel around London about 10 times, it sort of has paid for itself. This engine, he says, somewhat full service book. This engine will at some point need a new cam belt. That's an investment of £300. But if you service this car and you look after it, you may have another 100,000 on there. Alternatively, buy it and drive it into the ground, and you've only lost 200 quid.
Till it dies.
I mean, you could just drive this round and you'll be on the North Circular in London and suddenly you'll hear, bang, the cam belt will go, the engine will be ruined, pull over to the side of the road and take old Yeller out into the field and put a bullet between his eyes. You've been a good dog, old Yeller, but now it's time to die.
Even better if it has French number plates on it as well.
Or Dutch, or Polish. We're just saying. Do you know what I saw the other day in London? Ukrainian plates.
Wow.
There is a very little chance and a very small chance that somebody from the Ukraine is here in a white transit van on holiday. I'm just saying that. Yes.
Interesting.
Right. Are we ready? Because I know you've been waiting for this one all week. Are you ready for the big quiz?
Yes.
The audience are here with you.
Fantastic.
Here we go. Let's get the music going. It's the big quiz now on Carboys. That's it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your applause. It's now on the show for our weekly quiz. They're all there. Thank you. Yeah, shut up. This week, it's our weekly quiz. And this week, we've got our fingers on the buzzers and our stopwatches as we ask a lucky contestant, I can't imagine who it's going to be, to guess which is quicker, the car, the bus, the plane, or the train. It's time for our brain-teasing conundrum known as Around the World in 8 minutes, which is about the length of this entire quiz if we're really lucky, dear viewer. I shall be playing the role of Phileas Fogg, basically an upper-class twat with a top hat. Joining me this week, I'll go to my private members club, I tell you. Joining me this week from COVID-19 infected North London is a young man who's a big fan of the royal family. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not a fan of the royal family? Because it says here on my notes that you love the Queen.
No, Queen.
Oh,
not the Queen.
Oh, the band. Okay.
The band.
Okay, so he's a big fan of Queen, the band. I'm sorry, I'll get that right next time. How is Brian May's bottom?
Not bad. Actually, it was a lot worse than he thought originally. He had a small heart attack.
Heart attack
led on to it. Yeah.
And ripped bottom is now okay as well, which is something I wouldn't have thought I'd be saying unless Freddie Mercury was still alive. Okay, right then, Simon. Now it's time here to win our big quiz Around the World in 8 minutes. Up for grabs this week, a bus ride around central London with or without a mask, depending on which day of the week it is. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Super, smashing, great. I'll be asking you 10 questions, and if you get most of them right, you'll be off in your very own red London bus, because nobody else will be on there with you, and it's going to be chocked full of coronavirus, as we call it here on the show now, the Woo Flu. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Question 1. The Leeds to Lewisham in southeast London. It's a distance of 173 miles, but which is quicker? Public transport, and we include planes in this, or the car? Planes, trains, or automobiles? Which is quicker?
Car to Leeds, I reckon that's probably about 4 plus. London. Are we going at peak time?
I've just done an average. Let's say not. Let's say not.
That's about 6 hours plane. Well, you have to get to Heathrow or Gatwick. I would say train.
Well, it wasn't the last time I did the journey on a wedding on a Sunday, but according to AA Route Finder, yes, you are correct. The train takes 3 hours, 5 minutes. The car, 3 hours, 57 minutes. And according to AA Route Finder, the plane is only an hour and a half, but we're banking on an hour either end to get to and from Gatwick to your destination of Lewisham. So you're correct. The train wins it, although probably not on a Sunday, because the last time I did a wedding in Leeds and I came back on the train, it took me 6 hours. Right, question 2. The capital of, here we go, the Scottish capital, Edinburgh, or as we like to say in Britain, Edinburgh, to the land of Newquay Brown, fishes on dishes, feats and pub car parks. Why, man, namely Newcastle. Which is quicker,
Ah.
plane, trains, or automobiles?
Plane, train, and automobiles. It's not that far. I
Nine,
don't think. Can you
I'll
get
give you a clue. It's 92 miles by train, 120 miles by car.
or on that basis, I would go with train.
Ah, well done. Another win. Yes, of course, it was the train. The train takes 1 hour 36 from town centre to town centre. The car is 2 hours 21.
Wow.
That's a real nightmare journey in the car. Okay, now for the British capital. We're going for London, Twickenham in southwest London, to the British Museum in Leafy, Knightsbridge. Is it quicker by car, public transport? Although you can probably rule out a plane as it's only 14 miles. Which is quicker?
Twickenham to Battersea. I could get a helicopter from Battersea.
Ah, you could.
But then no, you wouldn't find anywhere to land. It would be. I'm going to go for the car.
Well done. You're correct again. It is only 14 miles, 42 minutes by car. Do you want to have a guess? The bus and the train, because you can't just get a train from one to the other. You've got a bus and a train.
So you'd have to get either a bus. I would say you'd have to get a train to at least Clapham Junction. I would say an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah, actually, well done. You're almost an hour and 15. Almost on it there. That shows your knowledge of London. Yes, last time I took the family to the British Museum in Leafy, Knightsbridge, and yes, it was the quickest way. It was to drive and then just pay for parking, because it was going to be an hour.
Or use French number plates.
I always say, yeah, Mary, je suis sur le holiday, vacances avec mon femme, mon femme ici. Yes, officer. Okay, now here we go. We're off to the colonies now and to America. Which is quicker, public transport or the car, when traveling from Atlanta, Georgia, to the northern Floridian city of Jacksonville? The distance is 346 miles directly. Oh, no, sorry. The cars are 346 miles. I imagine the plane is slightly more.
Now, in America, planes are probably better than buses and trains. So I'm going to go for the planes on this one.
Woo! Correct. You are correct. Doing well so far. 4 out of 4. So, from Atlanta, the capital of Georgia, to the armpit of Florida, Jacksonville, 346 miles by car. Takes 4 hours 35 by car. The train, 8 hours 10. I don't know where that's got to go. By plane, 1 hour 20. That doesn't include getting in or getting out. But I really, even if it's an hour either side, I think the plane has it. So well done.
Or your 2-week quarantine afterwards.
Obviously, I don't know whether the Floridians, have a quarantine for people coming from Georgia. No, we've seen that footage of the people on the beach in Florida. They couldn't care less. Don't take away my... You can keep your masks, just don't take away my guns. Okay, we're heading to the continent now, the continent of Europe, and we travel from the capital of Germany, Berlin, to that of Poland, namely Warsaw, Napoleon's and Hitler's favourite route. Which is faster, public transport?
Tank.
I was going to say, the humble car, and no, Simon, we won't take the time of a Panzer tank. We're far too PC on the show for Second World War jokes. Mine had, don't mention the war. It's a distance of 356 miles, which is quicker, plane, train, or automobile?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, you can get a plane that goes there. I would say probably plane, but only just.
Let me check. Yes, you are correct. The winning time is the plane. The plane takes 1 hour and 10 minutes. The car is 5 hours 42. The train, 9 hours. Where that goes via, I don't know. The train
Scotland.
is 9 hours. It's very interesting. Crossing the borders in Europe, and I think it must be a remnant of the war, trains are very difficult. My wife used to live in Haute-Savoie in the French Alps, and it's like a 30-mile journey from there to Geneva in Switzerland, just across the border. You couldn't catch a train. You had to get the bus. And I
Wow.
think that's about making it very inaccessible. So people like the little man with the dodgy moustache and the nice suit in World War II didn't find it too easy to just invade countries, although he sort of did in the end, but that's due to the fact that the French were useless. Moving swiftly on, now we head down under to the Australians, to the colonies again, Perth on the west coast of Australia to the capital Sydney on the east. It's a journey of more than 2,000 miles. Which is faster, the car, the plane, the train, or the bush kangaroo?
I don't think Skippy would have done 2,000 miles. Yeah, what's that, Skip? Who's down a well? I would say it's probably easier to go by plane.
You are correct,
distance.
Amundo, once again. Right, this is the best one in the world. I caught a train once from Sydney to Melbourne, and I felt like I'd been sold. I felt like I was going to a death camp. It was a 12-hour train journey. Here we go. So let's have a look. Now, the plane takes the trophy, a shade over 4 hours flight. The car is pretty bad. If you shared the driving, you could do the car in 42 hours. 42 hours, that's with no
Reasonable.
stops. The journey,
No comfort breaks and nothing.
no, you would literally
an
have to
EV.
you would have to be peeing into a plastic bottle as you drove along. The journey is another 500 extra miles by car, so that's 2,500 miles. So the plane is 4 hours. The train, you ready for the train?
Yeah.
3 days. 3 days by train to go from
3 days.
3 days. You are closer. Perth is closer to Jakarta in Indonesia than it is to Sydney. So it'd probably be easier to get to Jakarta
Yes.
than go to your capital city. And when I was last in Perth, I remember phoning up. It was the very final days of where I used to have burner phones. And I would it makes me sound like an international drug dealer. I wasn't. And I would buy a local SIM card and put it into the phone and then activate it. And they used to say, well, you can only activate it between 9 and 6. And I was like looking at the clock in Perth going, well, it's 4:30, fine. And I dial up and it says our offices are now closed. And I went, well, of course they are. They are closed in Sydney because it's a different flipping time zone. That's how far away Perth is from Sydney. So, mate, you've got it so far. You are 6 out of 6. Let's try and keep this going.
Ooh.
Off to the west coast of Scotland, namely the Outer Hebrides. We're going from Stornoway in the North Isle of Lewis. That's where Donald Trump's mum is from. Scotland, great people, terrible food. It's the north of Stornoway, right in the north, to Castle Bay in the south on the Isle of Barra. So this is basically an archipelago, a string of islands that goes all the way down the outskirts of Scotland, the Outer Hebrides, runs along the west coast of Scotland. It's a total distance of 145 miles. Which is quicker, the plane, train, or the automobile?
I don't think you'd be able to drive it as easily. Planes.
We are including ferries because it is a string of islands. You are going to need to get on ferries.
I would go for propeller plane.
If you had your own private plane, that probably would be the correct. But I'm going to have to say to this because we were talking cars versus public transport. So the public transport would be a regular plane. By car, 145 miles is going to take you 6 hours and 11 minutes. By car and ferry. This is we're talking A and B roads here, no motorways. No trains at all. The bus is 21 hours.
What?
Right? 21 hours, or that's 145 miles. Or you can fly. The flight is 8 hours, but you go via Glasgow. So you do this huge triangle to fly via Glasgow from Stornoway. And then from Glasgow to the Isle of Barra and Castle Bay. Yes.
Wow.
And that triangle journey is 319 miles. So I'm afraid you don't get it, but you're still doing well. It's 6 out of 7. Okay. Now we say we're off to the Far East, and we say arigato to Japan, and the route from the capital city Tokyo to Osaka in the south is a little over 600 miles. Which is going to be the fastest, the car or public transport?
I would think that the Japanese have the secret weapon, so they probably have the bullet train, don't they?
They do have the bullet train.
Which goes like at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So I would go for public transport, train.
You can fly. The flight is an hour and a half. The bullet train is 3 hours, and the car is 6 hours. So the car is out.
Ah. Okay.
I'm going to say we're going to give you that, because I think the problem is getting to and from Tokyo and to and from Osaka Airport is probably an hour to an hour and a half. So let's give it.
Wow.
Let's give it. The bullet train has it. We're going to give you the bullet train. That's just a little over 3 hours. I think from centre to centre, the bullet train has it, depending on delays. Right, where are we going now? We're off to South America, and we say, or Latin America, I should say. I apologise to our viewers in Mexico. We say hola to Mexico, and we're going from their capital city, Mexico City, to Puerto Vallarta in Jalisco on the Pacific coast. Car, bus, plane, train, automobile, or burro, which is donkey in Spanish, I believe.
That's a fair distance.
600. Let me say, no, 550 miles. This one. So you're going from the center of Mexico to the Pacific coast. It's a long journey.
In that case, I would go for plane because it avoids those border people.
We're correct. You are well done. You are right there. Yes, the plane is an hour and 30 minutes. The bus is 12 hours 10 minutes. There is no train, and it's yes. Sorry, did I write? Yes, bus is 12 hours. The driving is 10 hours 30 minutes, I should say. And in Mexico, it's muy bueno to take the plane at 1 hour 34, and obviously far likely to meet members of the cartel along the way. Yes. Ready for your final question? So far we've got a 8 out of 9. Doing well. We've saved the most romantic journey for the last. What is the best form of transport from Seascale near the Sellafield nuclear plant on the west coast of England, on the east coast of west coast of England, I should say, to sunny Hartlepool on the east coast, where the inviting warm waters of the North Sea await you? A distance of 134 miles from shitty Irish Sea to shitty North Sea, cold all the way. Which is going to be quicker? Is it going to be quicker to take the train, the plane, or the automobile?
I don't know. I think cars haven't really won many of these, so I'm going to go for cars. Just on that.
Well done, young man. You are correct.
Yes.
It's only 133 miles, or 134 miles. The car takes 2 hours 44. There are no roads going sideways, horizontally in the UK.
Okay.
So that's 2 hours 44. The train, 4 hours 23. The bus, 7 hours. 7 hours to get from one awful.
Probably can go for £1 though.
Yeah, well, hopefully I want to go for £1.
A megabus.
If you're a pensioner, you've got time on your hands, why not do it? Well done. You win our top prize of a weekend bus trip between Hartlepool and Sellafield via the bus, with a free pasty and enough money for a Coke or a cup of tea at the service station on the way. I hope that's you happy. More quizzes next week, more stuff next week. That's about it from the show today. Thank you very much for joining us. We will be back next week. If you want to get in touch with the show, all our details are there. car-boys@outlook.com. car-boys@outlook.com. We're also on the Facebook, car-boys, boys always with a Z, at Outlook, at Cars Boys with 4 Zs. Twitter, car-boys at car_boys. And what are we on the old Instagram?
It's car_boys with 3 Zs.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for joining the show. Stay safe. Stay indoors or don't stay indoors. Wear a mask or don't wear a mask. Go out. Don't go out. Don't go to work. Go to work. Stay indoors. Don't stay indoors. Don't get the virus. Get the virus. Knock down a statue. Don't knock down a statue. See you next week.
Bye.